Hey, I'm Reggie Ponder, the Real Critic, and this is the Real Critic Roundtable, where Black critics come to discuss, debate, and have some fun. And we got all of that here for you today. But before we do that, I want to do two things. The first thing is I want to encourage people to go and check out the African American Film Critics Association YouTube page because we have some roundtables there where we get to talk to a lot of the stars that you want to hear from. I think this week we did for the movie Sylvie's Love. I know you say Sylvie's Love. I don't know that movie. We'll talk to that about that movie, not this time, but we will tell you about that movie. Good movie, good movie. We did The Prom, Ma Rainey's A Black Bottom, which we'll be talking about here, and a movie related to August Wilson, which is Giving Voice. So I really want to encourage you guys to check out the Africa Channel YouTube channel, and you'll see a whole lot of stuff that you want to check out. But then before we really get into the movies for this week, what I want to say is that I recognize and we recognize as critics that watching movies is a luxury. And during this time, during this holiday season, we understand that a lot of people are hungry, looking at not being able to pay their rent and homeless and all that. And that doesn't go unnoticed by us. So while we're sitting here yucking it up, talking about films and all that stuff, we still are thinking about you guys who are out there struggling every day trying to make it happen. And we know that this holiday season might not be the absolute best for you. So what we hope is that when you watch this and might be able to watch a movie or two, that you might be able to get a little escape from the things that you are experiencing. We're sending you happy holiday wishes and much love. With that, we're gonna get into the show. So welcome to the table is Katia Woods.
Hey everybody, I'm happy to be here. I second everything that Reggie said, especially the work that we've been doing with AFCA. More than ever, Black film criticism, Black entertainment journalism is important, and especially as we get into this award season. But I'm happy to be here. You can read most of my reviews on cupofsoulshow.com. And, I just did a great podcast where we discussed Runner Up, The Color Purple, and how it was snobbed at the Oscars and how it fared today, you know what I mean? So that was a great conversation. So definitely look for that, but I'm happy to be here.
Then coming in as usual is Shawn Edwards.
Hey, what's up, man? Thanks for the introduction. I'm a little low key right now. Just super tired, but feeling super blessed. Got a movie I'm a producer on that's opening today, so I won't be talking about it with you guys. The journalistic integrity, behind the scenes producing the Super Awards. Make sure you watch on the CW January 10th and producing the celebration of Black cinema. Got a major announcement about that. We just secured a broadcasting deal, so I'm producing shows, producing movies on no sleep, but we're going to have fun today.
That's really good. And then somebody who I think is a little bit tired, Mercedes Springer.
Hi, everyone. Mercedes here, based in Atlanta. You can find me on all platforms at She Critiques. That's CHICCRITIQUES. Yes, I second everything Reggie had to say. I hope you are having a blessed holiday season, however you can make it blessed. And I'm looking forward to a lot of the films that we are going to discuss today and the films that have come out in 2020. Some good content. I hope you guys are seeing it and enjoying it.
So with that, because Shawn can't talk about the movie that he has coming out today and that he can't even talk about, we're gonna start there first. And actually, Katia, I'm gonna ask you to.
Y'all starting there first. I'm gonna go ahead and disappear.
Okay, all right. Shawn gonna disappear. So actually, I'm gonna ask Mercedes to introduce this one for us.
Okay, so Fatale stars Michael Ealy and Hilary Swank. It's produced by the Hidden Empire Film Group with director Dion Taylor, co-founder Roxanne Avant Taylor. And it's about a man who has a one-night stand with a woman, and she turns out to be a detective. So there's a lot of twists and turns. It's a thriller, psychological thriller. Hilary Swank is phenomenal in this film, y'all. Michael Ealy, so a few things I loved about this film. Michael Ealy is foot down, grounded in this character, okay? And he always captures you in these thrillers. We don't see enough Black leads in thrillers as is, but Michael Ealy jumps in there. He can be eerie. In this film, he's more on the victim side. You feel for him, even though he slept with another woman and cheated on his wife. You kind of feel for him throughout this film. And I don't want to give anything away, but you feel a little sorry for him. You're like, I'm a little sorry for him. He's like, no, listen, because wifey wasn't an angel either. But
no, Mercedes, I wasn't.
Let me tell you, so a few things I loved about it. I love that they showed a Black couple thriving. Okay, we're in a psychological thriller genre with Black leads. That's already, out the box as is. But he had a thriving career. The home was beautiful. The car was magnificent. Entrepreneur. I enjoyed that, and you can only get that from Black filmmakers, I believe, because they know how important the representation is. So go ahead. What were you gonna say?
No, I feel you. And in fact, I like all the things that you say, but as a dude, I'm like, come on, man. Your boy gonna tell you out here and you not married this weekend. Nah, don't fall for the okie. Don't fall for the okie. Don't. I was sitting up there hollering at the screen. No, don't do it. And so, I did not feel sorry for him because he was like, yeah, well, maybe I'll get into a little something.
No, I'm not saying. Okay, go, Katya.
Okay. All right, let me first say the things that I liked about it. I did like Hilary Swank. I like the fact that he did cast a dark-skinned actress to be the counterpart love interest for light-skinned Black man. That very rarely gets seen. I liked how it was shot and some of the twists and turns. Mm-hmm. This is a very hard genre to do, right? Like one of my favorite films of all time is Double Indemnity, which is, a little bit like this, where a woman is manipulating a man to do her dirty work, right? Mm-hmm. But it's skillfully done. And I also love Fatal Attraction. For me, there were some moments that were a little predictable. And I just wanted Dion to flush these folks out a little bit. I also was not crazy how Michael Ealy looked in this film. Oh. You know what I mean? He looked a little gaunt. That's the word I'm going to use. You know what I mean? And Michael Ealy's a good looking guy. And I understand that stress and everything, but he started looking gaunt from the moment go. Do you know what I mean? And I know he's got that brooding thing going on for him, but it's just a little bit more. I wanted it to be more suspenseful. I think it was a little rushed. When the moment the break-in happened, you saw her, you knew kind of like who the culprit was. But
she didn't call 911. I'm like, if you don't go call the cops, what did you?
I mean, it's just, you know what I mean? I think what makes these things so delicious, and even though you know that Michael Ealy definitely has a part in the dirt, is you want there to be more suspense. Like he had the affair, and then it's like, oh, I know who's behind this. Do you know what I mean? I also thought some people were miscast. I get that Dion doesn't have the budget that some of his counterparts are. But it is important that we put certain people in roles that we believe. Do you know what I mean? Other than that, I think it is a type of film that, unfortunately, if we were under normal circumstances, a Black audience sitting together, watching this, would totally talk back to the screen. It's a good type of escapism film. That's what I love. It's the type of stuff where the community would be like, nah, girl. Oh, really? That type of stuff.
This is, to me, an audience film. Mm-hmm. This is that film that I ended up watching it with the family here, and we were talking back to the screen. I actually agree with you on some of the things, because I was able to say, oh, this is about to happen. And I think my wife hit me upside the head a couple of times, like, shut up. But that's what would have happened in the theater. Somebody would be like, oh, I bet you she's about to do whatever. So I think that there were some things that I was able to say, hey, this is going to happen. But as far as Michael Ealy and Swank, I actually thought that the chemistry on that worked really, really well for me. I guess I kind of understand what you're saying, Katya, about the way he looked, but I thought that worked for the film because being the fact that they weren't really getting along, him and his wife, being the fact that him and his partner were working throughout the clock to make their business work, it seemed like he wasn't supposed to look like the most swankiest, excuse the pun, swankiest guy out there. But I do think this is an audience movie.
Yeah, I agree with that. And
Oh,
I
for
mean,
sure. Yeah. I mean, there are movies that are for film lovers. You know what I mean? Like there's certain, like I said that as soon as I saw No Man Land, this is a film for those of us who love filmmaking. Yeah. That's for us. A general audience, like my husband is gonna look at that and be like, something gonna happen. You know what I mean? And this is a type of film that's good escapism, especially during this time. As you said, if you're not into Christmas movies and you're just like, oh, I just need to tune out for a little bit, this is a fun way to do it.
And
so this is a watch it for me. Mercedes?
This is a watch it for me. And I was going to say, a lot of times when we see Black leads in thrillers, it's just not believable. It's just not believable. I don't think that's any stab at their acting ability or how it's done, but this was believable for me. Not that this would actually happen, but I was into the characters. Like I wanted to see more. So there was twists and turns for me. I would say watch it.
Katya?
I definitely say watch it,
Absolutely watch it. All right, with that, we can bring Mr. Edwards back and we're gonna move into the movie. And I'm gonna ask you, Shawn, to bring this one in. And this one is Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, man.
Oh wow, man! I feel honored and privileged that I get to set this one up. Number one, this film starts with, this film ends with, and everything in between is all about the greatest American playwright ever, August Wilson. I mean, it begins there, it ends there. Everything in the middle is 100% vintage August Wilson. What more can you say? I mean, just his grasp on just number one, American history, and then the way he can tell a story about the Black experience within American history has always been true. It's always been authentic. It's always been realistic, and it's always been done in a very original and creative way that only August Wilson can deliver. And then when you get this A-list ensemble cast of actors to recreate what this genius has written, which includes Viola Davis, which includes Chadwick Boseman, which includes Coleman Domingo, which includes Glenn Turman. The only news bigger than this is that Major League Baseball has added the Negro League's accomplishments to its official record books. And the happiest person to hear that announcement would have been August Wilson.
Well, it's so interesting you would say that because I knew you were gonna bring that up in some kind of way.
It's a phenomenal. The pedigree was already there. George C. Wolfe, as a director, did everything he could possibly do to make it right. I know for some people it may be a little too dialogue heavy, but as a work of art, as a representation of the Black experience through cinema, this is as close to perfection as you're probably ever going to get.
So with that, I have to go to Katya because Katya, you the person that probably saw this like 16 times on Broadway or at the theater or whatever. Talk about this film.
I mean, it's the only person that could have brought it to film the way is George C. Wolfe, who's directed this work, who understands it, who had a relationship with August. And also a lot of the actors in this have done this work in some type of stage thing. So this is one of the times where you're like, they got it right because they went to people that understood this work and have performed this work. So you went to the theater, and don't get it twisted, all these people came from the theater, including Chadwick. So it makes a huge difference because you're comfortable, you understand how the movement works. Some people say it's stagey. I'm like, yeah, so what? The idea for this is because Broadway is so expensive, including the cheap seats. August Wilson, let's just break it down. August Wilson wrote for Black people. He didn't see the Black experience in the theater. So he created the series of 10 plays that depict each decade about a perspective of Black life. But the problem is once it got on Broadway and once it got to the theater, the people that it was intended for couldn't afford to see it. So this is a perfect way to bring this work to the masses because it is an abomination that our kids don't know who August Wilson is, have not read his work or studied his work like, Neil Simon's work has been studied. And because there's tons of films, there's tons of adaptations of Neil Simon's work, and we only have gotten a second film out of it. There's been TV movies like The Piano Lesson and things like that. But I hope, my prayer for this is that it inspires people to buy the 10 set plays and to take their kids to regional theater, because their regional production of these plays, it's not as expensive, but it is something to be seen and to hear, and the movement within these characters. I'm also going to talk about, obviously, Viola is great. Obviously, enough people are talking about Chadwick Boseman, but to me, the dark horse in this play is, in this film, is Coleman Domingo.
Yes.
Because Chadwick can't do what he does if he doesn't have Coleman, because Coleman is the direct antithesis of what Levy is. Cutler is direct antithesis of what Levy is. And it's really important to me because, once again, I want people to understand we're not monolithic as Black people. We have different points of entries. We have different points of views. These are two Black men in this same exact time frame that are navigating the world differently. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And it's not that, I don't want to say that Cutler is an Uncle Tom, but he's a realist, whereas Levy is a dreamer. Do you know what I mean? And that's why you have the friction between the two men. And Coleman Domingo is the type, he is to me the essential character actor, because in every film he's in, I don't care if his part is this small or super big, you cannot take your eyes off him. He's a scene stealer in a good way. And I mean, I can't wait for people to see Zola, because he's really going to flip everybody out, as amazing as he is. And he has a presence about him, you know what I mean? And I'm also really super proud. He went to the same university that I went to, graduated from the drama department, TU, Temple University. And it's a good thing for kids from West Philly to see.
Okay. So I knew Shawn was going to some kind of way get in Major League Baseball. I didn't know he was going to get it in with an August Wilson play.
Hey,
I knew you were going to get in Temple somewhere, and Mercedes is probably going to get in some too. But here's what I want to say about this, is that this is a masterful performance all across the board. Shawn, you talk about the pedigree of the people here. Viola, she crushes her role. And the interaction between her and Chadwick, it's one of these, like, you're looking like, oh wow. I mean, it's like, it's so riveting. But then, Katia, what you're talking about with Coleman Domingo, I was like, this guy crushed it. And then you look at Thurman, and he crushed it. I'm like, I was totally in on this, on everything that happened with this all the way throughout. I thought that the staging, Shawn, I don't think you said this. I don't think that the dialogue was too much. I think that that's what really drove it and hit home a lot of the points that were made here. And it felt authentic to me. So I really, really like this. I'm sorry, Mercedes. I'm getting carried away. My bad.
I mean, you guys have said a lot, but I will say this was a recipe. The ingredients were set up for success. If Denzel Washington is in charge now of getting all the August Wilson plays done, you have these thespians of actors and the dialogue of August Wilson. I mean, it's set up for what we've seen. And the dialogue, I love dialogue films. I don't care if they come from stage plays or anything, but there's something about the way August Wilson writes that speaks to the souls of Black folks. He writes like you've heard your grandfather talking in the garage playing cards. You know what I mean? Like, he just, a genius at constructing dialogue for Black folks, how we speak, our mannerisms. And you give that to these thespian actors, and what do you expect but greatness? So all across the board, like, I don't even know what we're talking about. Everybody need to go see.
I will agree with everything said 100% except one thing. Having extensively studied August Wilson, he actually wrote for other people, because he wrote for other people to have a better understanding of the Black experience. I think
but his primary audience were Black people. I studied August Wilson too.
His primary audience
his
was,
primary
but he
function
wrote.
was to tell the Black experience in theater, because it hadn't been told. There have been snippets with Lorraine and other people, but they haven't been as in residence and in theater in terms of consistency. Not like Neil Simon, him telling his point of view of the Jewish experience in theater. While absolutely, yes, it is to inform other people, but his primary intent was to see Black people in that theater space where we did not exist on a consistent basis.
It seems to me,
and it's really important, because to me, it's like, I don't think it's offensive to say I am creating something for my community. It doesn't mean that it's not there to be received by people outside of their community, but it's okay to say, you know what, I saw something missing, and this was my motivation to create pieces of work. We got to stop making everything seem like we got to be appreciated by everyone. It's okay to say we created a piece of work or works or a vehicle to open up the conversation with everything. And one thing I did appreciate that George said was, which is what he said. He said, I hope by us diving into August's work that we now open the door for other playwrights that have been underappreciated or forgotten, or that need the same type of love and appreciation. Because at the end of the day, we still have a hashtag that for Broadway is Black. We still don't have enough playwrights on Broadway consistently of works by Black people. So we are still having this conversation in 2020, and it's going to be even more difficult because Broadway is Black right now in terms of the lights are off, where the funding is going, where are we going to get our next fellowship to have these next voices. So I understand what you're saying, but this thing where we got to appease to everybody, no.
I think, Katia, though, that the two things can live at the same time. I don't think that they're mutually exclusive. I think that you can write specifically to highlight and showcase the Black experience, but to know that you want other people to see our humanity. And I believe that one of the things that I believe is strongly, one of the things that August Wilson wanted to do was not just show it for us, is to say to other people that we're human too, that our experience is universal. And in fact, the plays do speak to other people because they can now see that the Black people aren't some alien someplace else. So I think that the two can live at the same time.
No, I agree, but I just want to make it perfectly clear. This was the intent, because again, when you, as somebody who's grown up with artists as parents that worked in theater and worked in different spaces, I can honestly say I'm 50 years old. You can count on one hand the not musicals, but plays by Black people that have gone to Broadway, not off Broadway, not off Broadway, but I'm talking direct to Broadway. And that conversation is still, it's missing. And with August dying, you know what I mean? There's such a void, because where is the next voice is out there, but it's not getting the funding and the support.
No, that's true. Absolutely true. I see Mercedes trying to jump in.
I just wanted to say there's an authenticity, because of that authenticity that August to construct characters and the dialogue and all that. You can't help, but people are drawn to authenticity. You know, some of the realest, downest people we know that are celebrities, people are like, why are they so real? Like, why are they so intriguing? So I think that's what pulls everyone in to the world of that August Wilson has created. So it does appeal to the masses. It doesn't matter, you know, that they are Black leads. It appeals to the masses because it's real. So you can,
I also think I'm still going to stand on this. There are certain things that white people will never understand about this.
No, absolutely.
It is.
Absolutely.
It is.
They want to be
I don't want to give away for people that haven't seen it, but there are moments in there where it hurts your soul because you know what. And the crazy thing is, we're still having the same damn conversation.
No. And I think that that's what makes it so great. Hey, for me, this is a must see. This is not a kind of watch it. This is a must see. and the performances that we talk about in this are really great. Some of the actors in this will absolutely be up for awards. So it's a must see for me, Mercedes.
Absolutely a must see, and I just love that we have Sylvie's Love, Ma Rainey, One Night in Miami. This is Black cinema 2020 all year. Amazing.
Katya
Absolutely. Gather family.
and Shawn.
Oh no, definitely must see. We'll be really curious how it plays out during award season because film critics seem to suffer from short-term memory loss in abundance. So we'll see how it plays.
I agree with Shawn. It's already been interesting. These films.
It has. I've looked at a couple of people's lists for top tens, and I don't think that I've seen it in anybody's top 10 list.
Man.
So it will absolutely be interesting to see how that comes out.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So with that, I'm going to
agree though. You can't deny it. We matter. Us four right here matter the most.
You know what? I like that. I like that.
This is, you know what? But to make Shawn's point, this is why we have AFCA. This is why we do this, because it's just, I mean, we're going to talk about this on another show, but I'm just being like, this award season, I'm like, are we looking at the same films? No. Are we looking at the same performances? The phrasing of mediocrity has been, woo, child. Moving on.
Yeah, moving on. And we should spend I'm not mad at you guys for wanting to spend an hour talking about Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, because we really didn't get into these phenomenal performances. We all talked about it a little bit, but these people had depth. And it's just so good. So I ain't mad at y'all. I'm not mad at y'all. The next movie I want to bring in, which is man, I should have did Ma Rainey's at the end, right? But anyway, next movie I'm gonna bring in is Greenland, and this movie is with Gerard Butler, where he is a father and married. He's married. He has a child a son who is diabetic and needs medicine. The real thing is that there's this comet that has all these little fragments and it's going to end the Earth. Have we seen this before? Yes, we have seen this before. This is like what, the day after, or the after, I don't know, but we've seen it before. And what he has to do is get to an airplane that, because his family has been chosen, he has to get to a military airplane that they're going to go someplace in Greenland, hide in some bunkers, and wait till the whole thing is over, and then emerge victorious or whatever, and rebuild the world. Let me see. What did I like about
this? Don't call my
name. Say what, Shawn?
Don't call my name, because my grandparents told me if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all.
I'm with Shawn. I feel like Aretha Franklin. That gowns. That gowns.
Okay, so
I mean, come on, man.
I didn't see it though. I didn't see it from the sound of it.
So we can do this in 2 minutes, Shawn.
No, man. I'm just. The only thing I can really say, I'm just amazed that someone actually read this script and said, I want to finance this, so that it even got made. I'm just, that's the most offensive thing about the whole process in Hollywood, is the things that people choose to finance. When Kathy had just said, look, we need more productions on Broadway, and the main reason they don't happen is because of funding. But yet you have people funding this. I mean, that's all I can say. And Gerard Butler, my God,
he's a long way from 300.
Who's his agent? Who's his team?
Well, he just lost the house to the fire, so he needed, he got to rebuild. So I understand why he did it. Man. I understand why he did it. I'm just not saying it's the best choice, but I understand why he needed the check.
He's now more famous for a messy personal life than anything he's been in recently. I mean, prayers.
Well, I'm just gonna keep it moving. We're gonna talk about the next movie, and that movie is I'm gonna ask you, Katya, to bring that one in. Wow. Dag, Shawn, there's two movies you didn't participate in today. Oh, anyway.
I mean,
No,
you
you know
other,
what? Just to
other
say
critics
this,
do it to our stuff.
I'm
I mean,
just
I'm not
saying,
gonna.
give Dion the money that they gave for this. Where you're
Yes.
just like,
Now that's real talk.
I'm just saying, because you know what? I'm positive if you gave Dion this concept, not the script, this concept, there was nowhere to go but up. So I'm really asking myself, was 300 a fluke? Because I love 300. I think 300 is awesome.
I did
you know,
too.
in terms of like action, you know, it's not a deep thing, but it has been. I'm with Shawn. It has gone. Are we paying for our baby moms? Like, what is going on that we keep making these movies and you're just like,
Well, we
because y'all know we were all nice on those Olympus movies. Come on, like really, like they did like what?
But what I'll say about those, maybe we were nice, but Shawn, we talked about how some movies are in the theater, kind of fun, kind of movies. I saw it with people, and people were cheering, talking to the screen. So it was one of those kind of movies. I'm not saying it was this thespian great film.
No, I get it. You know, when I think of a fun movie with people, I'm thinking more like Boo 2, not that.
Okay, all right. Hey, well, boo. We're gonna say boo-hoo to the way y'all talking about this one, and we're gonna move over to Katya. Can you talk about our last film, which is Another Round?
I did not see Another Round. I just got the screener.
Another Round.
We'll talk about Another Round just for a moment, Mercedes, because I put Another Round on the docket because of Shawn.
I know, but I was going to watch it. I did not get to it.
We got 80 million screeners being sent to us now, right?
Literally.
See, this is what happens, y'all. So just so everybody knows, is that every week I send out an email to Shawn and Katya and say what y'all want to watch. And Katya always puts on a film that I don't have on my list, and Shawn always puts on the film I got on my list. But this week, dude didn't watch the film that he sent to me. Now,
I told you. That's why I started off the show by saying it's been a really big
I just kidding. Go ahead, Mercedes.
Man,
and maybe, you know what, Shawn, that was our fault. We should have watched this instead of watching Greenland. We paid for that.
True. Sometimes the priority is off. I agree. I chose the wrong.
All right, go ahead, Mercedes.
Yeah, from the sound of it. So Another Round is about 4 high school teachers who are pretty much doing like an experiment of drinking alcohol daily to a consumption level of they start at like 0.5 to see how it affects their personal and professional careers. And for a while, you know, they are excelling being drunk while at school. So tapping into that idea of genius, you know, a lot of musicians or even actors who fall down that slope of drugs, heavy drugs and partying.
Were all the teachers white?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you know, there's a lot of entertainers who believe that, you know, the higher I am, the drunker I am, the better the music that I create. So they were tapping into, let's see if there's some truth to this. You know, we stay at this level of alcohol throughout the day. How do we manage? So it's interesting because we've all had one drink too many. And it's that one drink, you know where you are when you're just skating for a second, but then it takes you one more drink and you're like, I shouldn't have had that last drink. So it was interesting to watch. It was a little slow at the beginning, but I enjoyed watching it.
Really?
I'll say that. I enjoyed
I did too. I did too. It's interesting is that I didn't particularly care about any of the other characters than the main character played by Mads Mikkelsen. I didn't really care about them, but I did care about the experience. Go ahead, Shawn. I'm sorry.
Can you put a picture of that person up, please? Who is that?
No, yeah, right. But I did care about the experience because what they were doing is exactly what she's saying. It's like if I'm at this level of alcohol, have this level of alcohol consumption, how do I function? And it reminded me a little bit of what was happening in the 40-year-old version, is that these guys were sitting around trying to figure out how to get their mojo back, how to make sure, because they were losing, all their lives were just falling apart, and they were trying to figure that out. And the problem with the film for me is that they really didn't make the kind of commentary on alcoholism that you probably would want them to make on alcoholism, because they drank. You said, Shawn, for the movie Ma Rainey, you said it started here and ended here. It started with alcohol and it ended with alcohol. And the stuff in between was interesting enough for you to stay with this. This was actually a surprising for me, because I didn't feel it in the beginning, but as I went along, it was definitely interesting. This is a watch it for me as well.
Okay. I might check this out, maybe like in 2022, not right away.
Yeah, this was a watch it for me as well. Go ahead, Mercedes.
No, it sounds better than Greenland. It's a watch it for me. It's definitely not I gotta go check it out tonight. But it starts a little slow, but yeah, check it out. It was interesting.
Here's a question I have, especially for you, Reggie. So in all the scenes where they're drinking, did they actually drink brand name alcohol? I'm just curious.
Oh, wow. See, because I don't drink alcohol, I don't know, but they mentioned names of wines and names of, they did mention names of alcohol, but since I don't drink, I don't know if those were made up, or not.
I was just curious,
Product placement.
Yeah. They
I just want to see if a company participated in this, because it's, that would.
Well, this was based, but what's really interesting, Shawn, is that this is based on real research. Is that what they did is that they took, that somebody actually did some scientific study on it. And that's what they were basing. They were like, oh, this guy did this study on it. Let us do our little study on the study and see if it really comes out. And they used a lot of famous people, like Hitler and so on.
Yeah. Churchill, who were.
I'm not gonna lie. I would love to see a version of this movie with an all black cast.
Yeah, that would sound amazing. That sounds amazing.
Yes, you know what I mean? People be getting at the Hennessy. Okay, I've had enough.
I'd love to see Michael Ealy do that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what? I'm through for the day.
All right.
You can't fire me because I have 10 years.
All right, moving on. So we got a couple of issues. I put this issue on the table. I actually had on the table.
This is a great show, Reggie. You got to frame this one.
And you know what? Shawn would be the instigator. Shawn would be like, have another shot. You're not there yet, bro. He be all sober.
I just want to see a black version that the plot twist would be a lot different.
It would, but it would be interesting as heck if they kept him in the school on.
I know, right?
That's all I want to say. If it's the four of us, we the teachers, and they kept us in the school, and we trying to get our drink on, and instead of just drinking some Gatorade or something, we got something else in there. Really, really interesting. But with that, so we got a couple of issues I want to cover, and one of them is that Tim Fox will be Batman in the comics, and this is big. This is a really big thing, in fact, and a black guy. And the question is, do we think that might impact what might actually happen in the movies? Can we ever see Batman as being black in the movies?
Well, I mean, I would hope. I mean, you just never know. But if it does happen, whoever gets that role, I mean, they will need a security detail and probably have to do a block on all their social media, because the vitriol and hate would probably just be too much to handle.
Thoughts, Katya?
I mean, I agree with Shawn. The bros are. Look at what they put John Boyega through for Star Wars. You know what I mean? A fictional character. Like, you're like, people, it's make believe. Come back down to Mother Earth. But I would love to see it. Again, I have no problem. You can cast anybody for fictional characters. This is a historical drama. You know what I mean? Like, who? again, I mean,
I've never understood why people get so upset. I mean, they got upset over the animated Miles Morales character in Into the Spider-Verse for being black. So, you know, I don't.
I'm
I
like,
don't
get
get
over
I don't
it.
get
And
it.
you know what? But because they went that route, it ended up being one of the most successful films because a whole audience that's never seen themselves. And the fact that he was Afro Latino, he spoke English, he spoke Spanish, which is such a common thing for so many of us that grew up like that, especially in that part of New York. So I'm like, I need people to be like, I need people to understand it's not real life. We're not doing the Rosa Parks story, okay?
But this is a problem I have with 2020 film criticism and entertainment reporting. I hate making news about casting decisions. Wait until you see the final product, man.
I like that, Shawn. I've never really thought about it in that way. Is to say who's going to be it. It does cause some issues because people because you imagine our imaginations are separate, all different. How we see people and see characters. Once somebody says Mercedes is playing that character, he's like, nah, she can't play that. And because it's just not in your imagination. So that's really, really interesting. I'm thinking that this is not a small deal in the comics, actually. We've seen it with Spider-Man. We've seen it with a number of other superheroes. I don't think this is a small deal, though. It might take a while, but I think that that it might be saying something to the audience or to different audiences, as Katya was just talking about. That
We'll start calling you Comic-Con Reg.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see. All right. The next one, unfortunately, is every week we're talking about one of people who have passed away. And this week we're talking about Tommy Tiny Lister, who passed away. And he's really known he's been in, I think it was like 160 something films. It really carved out a career for himself. But he's really beloved for his role in Friday.
Yeah, this is what I classify as a FUBU death. For us, by us. Just not much impact universally, but for the Black community, it's a big deal.
I think that's why our spaces are so important because we've been hearing all throughout the news his name, and these outlets who I'm sure haven't seen, don't know, they're just got their might have their ear to the streets of what we have going on. But I think AFCA and these type of platforms where we can really give our brothers and sisters their flowers, and we know exactly their work history, what they've done, what they've contributed. Yes, and we hold them near and dear. So I think when we have this space to give them the credit, we should.
Katya?
I mean, I agree. I feel like we lost him and Charlie Pride, right? And I feel like both of them outside of our community weren't given the reverence that they deserve. You know what I mean? It's always like Black this, where talk about the body of the career. And again, I've been having this conversation for a minute now on Twitter where I'm like, if you don't have anybody in your newsroom who can do a piece and give them the tribute that they deserve, outsource that. Instead of writing and putting something together that's half-assed. Do you know what I mean? Or where you try to be slick, like you were in on it. It's just disrespectful to the legacy of these folks. And who cares that he didn't have this he was an important icon to us, and he made a lot of people happy, and he brought a lot of people enjoyment.
He made a lot of people happy, and I'm so glad that you said that part. Go ahead, Shawn.
No, he made a lot of people happy, but I would like to mention the fact that Charlie Pride's name came up. I think it is 100% awful that there's never been a biopic about this man.
So I sometimes we have on this show producers and stuff. I think we got some that might be on the show who could probably. But anyway,
I
agree. And people don't understand is he became a star in country music when we still had Jim Crow and a whole bunch of other things where people did not want to see someone Black on TV, period. Forget doing country music. Do you know what I mean? And you know, his entry into the Grand Ole Opry wasn't like "Welcome in, Charlie Pride." And also think about the drought from Charlie Pride till we had another one. Do you know what I mean? It's there's definitely a lot of issues, and there's a lot of hypocrisy about people saying, "Oh, Quick Rich, I believe that's his name, from who's a bona fide Trumper, all of a sudden talking about Charlie Pride meant a lot to him." I'm like, you didn't know, sir. That's inauthentic. You know what I mean? So I think we have to take care of our own. I agree with Shawn. It is an abomination that we don't have a Charlie Pride story. Kudos to Ken Burns, who did a beautiful job of highlighting him in the country music when he did the documentary on country music. He carved out a very nice space and interviewed him and put him in there, so you got a taste of who he was, and it was done with reverence and respect. And I do hope, if there is a Charlie Pride film, that it's done by us, so we don't get a cleaned up version. You know what I mean?
You're on a roll today, because you brought up Ken Burns' name. He's also primarily responsible for the resurrection of the Negro Leagues as well, because he did a whole section on that in his baseball documentary.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really glad. Thanks, Katya, for bringing up Charlie Pride, because very important character. I mean, that's how I knew about country music personally, because I was like, I don't like this, I don't like that, and then someone was like, I think it was my parents, was like, well, here's Charlie Pride. He's been in the game for a minute, and so that's how I learned about country music. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up. The next thing is that I wanted to talk about is that Barry Jenkins is doing a Lion King prequel. Thoughts, you guys?
Katya mentioned it earlier, man. People got to pay bills.
I mean, here's the thing is, Barry has another movie coming out. Barry has given us amazing work that has not been promoted properly, and also we have not supported at the box office. Point blank, period. I can't have this conversation with our people when they're like, I'm tired of seeing this, but you didn't go see the other stuff.
See, that's been my problem.
Pre-pandemic, so you can't even say it was the pandemic. That was the reason why I couldn't come out. You didn't buy the DVD. You didn't rent it.
That's my biggest concern with Ma Rainey. I just hope people watch it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I've been promoting it, like going out of business, and to me, it's like, I'm not mad at Barry. If that's what you gotta do, we have to understand it's a business, right? If he can make this work and it makes a crap load of money, then he can then turn around and say, I made you all this money. Now give me the money for me to make something that I want. Like Bono said it best from U2, right? He said, when you make an album, you got to make a song for the label, and then you make the rest for you. Right? You got to give them something in order for you to be able to do what you do. And that's how it is. And it's awful. And I wish I could say, just give it, but it is a business, and dollars and zeros matter. So if Brother Barry needs to go do this so that he can continue to give us this other work, I'm not mad at him. And also at the end of the day, we all got bills. Like, it's Hollywood's freaking expensive.
Are we already loving that this is not going to be a good film?
No, I'm just saying people are mad.
People were mad
because of the type of filmmaker he is. They feel like
I wasn't.
I don't have a problem with it. I think he's going to do a good job.
I think we agree that Barry is a great filmmaker. I think, he makes great films. So I would like to give some type of, I'm understanding of the fact that even if it's a prequel, I don't know if there is an actual story that exists as the Lion King prequel.
Write one.
Are they making it up? Because if they're making it up, then I have all the faith that Barry can execute this and execute it well.
This is what I said earlier. I don't like where our industry is gone, where we create these non-stories out of announcements. Like, just wait. We don't even know the details.
We don't even know who got it. Listen, for all we know, here's my response to that. It can't get no worse than what we got in the last one. So he has all the room to do better, because
wow.
and also we got to understand, is this a different type of entertainment? This is family entertainment.
Yes.
It don't got to work for you. It got to work for your 8-year-old, your 9-year-old, your 10-year-old. So they go out and want to buy the blanket, the backpack, the action figures, and all that stuff. You know what I mean? You're just a vehicle taking the little people to go see it.
Yeah. So what got to me on this one is that I was actually excited to see that he was making a prequel. And the reason I was is because we talk about on this show about how representation mattered. So all of a sudden you get to do The Lion King. So the stuff that the impact that you'll have in terms of framing this movie and the characters and what people buy, as you just got through talking about, Katia, I'm excited for that. I don't think that that's a step down. I don't think that that's a sellout. I don't think that that's just going to get the money. I think that that's saying, look, I'm a filmmaker. Why can't I do a range of stuff? And man, I can go to Disney, seriously, and get the money for it. To me, I didn't see anything wrong with this at all.
If they're going to give him the free reign of helping to create what this looks like, because I don't know the story. I don't know the story of a Lion King prequel. So if he has the ability to create the story as well, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm much more excited that Barry Jenkins is going to do the prequel than Jon Favreau, who did the last one. I mean, come on.
Well, with that, I am going to come on because I want to make sure I get in these last two topics. Right. The first one's going to go quick because we've been talking about this forever. But Shawn, you put this on my docket. The Tenet is going to DVD. Do we care or do we have any second thoughts? Speak on it, man.
That was bad.
I mean, we care because now, people can finally get to see it without risking their lives. You can order a copy of it on Amazon and have it shipped to your house. As a film, I've seen it. So no, I don't care. And yeah, I did check it out again on DVD and I still can't understand what anyone's saying because the audio mix is so bad.
Katia?
I'm with Shawn. Of course, first of all, Christopher Nolan is one of those filmmakers. People are interested in his work. So there's a whole audience that, again, first of all, either they didn't have the access, because we got to remember New York and Los Angeles theaters have been closed since March, right? And other parts of the country. So it wasn't, even if you wanted to, you couldn't, because there was nowhere for you to go see it. And then number two is, I haven't seen it in the home version. I'm curious to see if it's the same type of experience, because like I said, as my chair was rocking, I felt like I was on a roller coaster ride because my chair was like, I'm like, what is happening here, right? It was a little distracting. But again, at the end of the day, it's still Christopher Nolan, who's a great filmmaker. People are always going to be interested in what he's producing. Now, I mean, I didn't dislike this movie as much as the others. The thing for me is Robert Pattinson, to me, was surprisingly, I wasn't like turned off because I'm not a big fan of his. And I do think John Davidson shows he's a leading man. My biggest issue with this movie is I need Christopher Nolan to learn how to write for women. I need him to understand how to develop the female character. I mean, she had no role in this film other than to look pretty. I mean, they had her dressed in finery, but she had no purpose other than to look cute. And that's what he does in all of his films. The women are these damsels in distress. And I'm like, Christopher, go talk to some women. Go hire a co-writer to help you develop women, because we are now into how many movies and you're still doing this nonsense.
Yeah, these big action blockbuster films, they never get behind a woman's story or any layered character. It's just walk through with your tight dress on and be pretty. And
pencil skirts. She was in great pencil skirts and suits. And I'm like, everybody's risking their lives for her. And we're like, why? What is so great about
for sure, I was like, why? I was like, for her, for real? Nah, I ain't doing that.
There's a pencil skirt, well?
And the sound on this was so terrible to me, is that I did not know, because I did go see this in the theater with 5 other critics. They had us burst out. And I didn't understand anything. That I was like, hey, and I wanted to ask somebody, but the critics were sitting way over there somewhere. I wanted to ask somebody, what did they say?
That's why the DVD's dope. Put the subtitles on.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to put the subtitles on.
And you know what? It's people ask me what it is. I said it's Inception on steroids.
I think Inception was much better to
And I
me.
think Inception is, to me, I can watch Inception any day of the week. But yeah, we need to talk to Mr. Nolan about, because in Dunkirk, where there were no women characters, it flowed a lot better. So he definitely, it's like, what happens when you start developing this woman? Do you not like women, or do you just think our job is to be
just look at women as objects? Because clearly, I mean, if you're using them as objects in the film, then that's what they.
She had. I will say that sis had her wardrobe was laid.
No, her wardrobe was lit, but that's not a good reason to go see that film. Anyway, we got to get to the last topic. I appreciate y'all so much. You don't even know. So last topic is award shows. We are at the end of the year. We're crunching in movies. We're watching movies, but award shows, do people really, really care? Are they going to care about these awards in the end?
Not this year, particularly because it's because of the pandemic. It's really hard to keep up with which films are eligible and which films are not for people who professionally do this, like the four of us. So imagine the general public. And then another factor is the general public has no idea what was released theatrically, what was released on streaming platforms. It's just going to be a big old mess. Plus the ratings have been down. I mean, for various reasons. It's not just because they don't care, but there's so many other viewing options compared to 10, 15, 20, 30, 35, 40 years ago. I mean, I just don't think people care.
So I have a different, go ahead, Mercedes.
I was going to say, with that thought, Shawn, do you think that it's going to be easier for so many films to get slighted now? Because there's, like, you don't know what's what, and the academies and all that, they can easily get past, that slipped through the cracks.
Because I think the voting memberships of all these groups that have these award shows is still predominantly one demo, and they've already picked and chosen what they love anyway. So I think it's still going to play with a very familiar ring.
So for me, Shawn, I think I care about award shows more this year than I have. And that's because of what Mercedes talked about earlier in terms of all the different great Black fare that we've had, is that I'm like, come on now, please. I mean, so that's just going to upset you. Yeah, I know. I'm just telling you though, you're probably right.
I would talk now because we're already seeing it. Critics groups are starting to come out, and it starts with these critics groups. It is an abomination that a Florida critics group is primarily its members are in the Miami-Dade area, and they're predominantly white. Florida. Florida, not Kansas, Florida.
But they got hanging chads in Florida.
But that's the problem. I think she's touching on something that's very important. I mean, the membership makeup of these groups is just skewed so inaccurately compared to the general makeup of our population and what we like and what we go and see and it goes back to my theory all the time. I got into an argument about this 2 weeks ago when I was reviewing Mank on NPR, and I said Mank was a non-starter for me because I don't buy into the belief that Citizen Kane is the best movie ever made. You know, I've been to film school, I've been to college, and I know people tell you that over and over again. And if you hear something enough times, you start to believe it. But look, no, for me, it's technically it's a great movie. Like the tricks and the camera shots and the cinematography, but the story, I never connected to it. I mean, it's the same thing with Mank, but you have to argue with these people who have these things set in stone, and it's the same thing when it comes time to vote for awards with these critics groups, man. You got, a lot of these movies are predetermined to be great, and it's really hard to talk someone off the mountain, because I interact with colleagues and they've already determined who they were voting for some of these movies before they even see them.
No, and I agree with Shawn. I think Mank is a perfect example. It's a beautiful, if we're voting for a technical thing, right? We're not counting dialogue. We're not counting acting skills. If we're just strictly voting on technical, that film should rack up, in my opinion, in the technical awards. But for it to win something like Best Picture is inaccurate.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree with that.
the totality of the film, not just it being technically good, right? For the same reason, we talked about, Sound of Metal, where we definitely, I mean, obviously it's a beautifully acted film. Rez is giving an amazing performance, but there is also sound, because that movie doesn't work if the sound isn't right? We can't get into that headspace. So, it is certain things. I mean, my biggest gripe this award season have people trying to convince me that Ammonite is a good film. How? I'm just like, are we watching the same film? And, it's because this is how Kate Winslet gets on the ballot every time she's in a film, because people are convinced that she doesn't give a bad performance or she's not in a bad movie.
No,
That's exactly what Shawn is talking about. And there's even talk about Amy Adams from Hillbilly Elegy to be on the ballot. Again, I love Amy Adams. I honestly think Amy Adams is one of those poor women that gives good performances and gets overlooked. She always happens to come up with a great performances when there's someone else that's, that overshadows her, right? But if this is supposed to make up for all the time she's got overshadowed, this ain't the film, fam. Like, she deserves better. She wouldn't. I don't think she also believes that this is her best turn. Like, if we're having a real conversation, right? So here we are with these two women possibly getting in, and Nicole Beharie, which I asked the question the other day on Twitter, and you know what? It was crickets. I said, let's be honest. How many non-white critics have seen Miss Juneteenth? You have the screener. I know you do, but you're not. So how can you vote for something if you haven't seen it?
No, that's true. Go ahead, Shawn. You want to say something?
If Nicole Beharie were Emma Stone, she would damn near have already won the Oscar this year.
Thank you. And Emma Stone is another one of these mediocre white girls, and I'm gonna say it, that has the right team and the right people behind her. Isn't criminal to me that Emma Stone has a Best Actress Academy Award for that mediocre thing.
She won an Oscar for Best Actress in a movie that was a musical, and she couldn't sing
nor dance. And that's criminal even more.
And it wasn't a movie
or dance.
It wasn't a movie, in my opinion. It was all that good in the first place. Go ahead, Mercedes.
No, but I mean, Hollywood has that, that was stamped to go to the Oscars when the script was
predetermined.
Yeah.
So they wrote that to go to the Oscars because they know Hollywood loves old school Hollywood. You put some music in there and they singing and dancing, and this reminded me of Singing in the Rain, and
who can't sing nor dance, right? Oscar at least can sing and dance,
right? And that's why. Go ahead, Mercedes. I'm sorry.
There's a formula sometimes that filmmakers go right to because they know it's going to take them to the awards, and they can get lazy behind that too because they know if I cast this person and I write it just like this and add a little jazz to it, we going.
Well, that's what Mank is. Mank is that movie that it looks phenomenal though. I mean, I hate to just say the same thing you guys said. This is one of those films you're like, man, they crushed this. But is it really that interesting?
No,
is it really? It's Hollywood talking about Hollywood, and they love those movies where they talk about themselves. And this one is like at the mountaintop, and everybody's talking about how phenomenal it is. They did a nice job with this movie. Nice job. But it wouldn't be on my top 10.
But here's my thing though, right?
But then you have a lot of filmmakers. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
And that's okay. Here's one thing I said yesterday. I said, I really have come to the realization that I will not see a Black woman win Best Actress within my lifetime, because the Black women are doing what they need to do. They're doing the work, but they're not being recognized. So to me, it's like, we have not had a Black woman win since Halle Berry. What's almost 20 years or even 20 years? And it's not because these performances aren't out there. We've never had a Latina woman win. We've never had an Asian woman win. The performances are out there. And, whether you agree with this affirmative action thing that's going on with the Academy, but something needs to be done. Something needs to be done to say that you cannot vote if you do not look at all the screeners. You cannot participate if you're not really actually looking all the playing field. Because right now what's happening is, because I'm honestly, somebody got to tell me, what does a Black woman got to do to not only make the 5, but to get over the finish line, other than to drop herself to Best Supporting?
Yeah. So we're gonna have to wrap this up. So I'm gonna go with.
Hold on, let Mercedes got something.
I know. I'm going with Mercedes, and then
Okay.
you, and we'll wrap this part up, you guys.
I was just going to say, when it comes to that lazy filmmaking again as well, because there's so many white directors and filmmakers who have made one film and it has established their entire career. That one film has taken them to the next door and the next door, and they continue to just get the accolades because of one film that they've done early on in their career. And then we have Black actors and Black filmmakers who have that one film that gets them in the door, and then we never hear from them again. They never get another opportunity. The second film has to be better than the first. You got to do 10 more to be just as good as that first one that you did that we first started talking about. So of course, we don't get the same opportunities when it comes to them, but it's just interesting that it only takes one great film for that white filmmaker to be solidified as he's coming next year with something even better.
Yeah, and Shawn, I'm gonna give you the last word on this after I say this. If Ma Rainey was played by Meryl Streep, she'd be getting a Oscar nomination. I'm just saying that those kind of roles.
Nomination. If Ma Rainey was Meryl Streep, her name would already be engraved on the trophy.
So I'm just saying is that what we see with Viola Davis in this, I mean, she just crushed this role, but you're not going to hear, I haven't heard of people saying, oh, she should be nominated. You know, you're definitely, but if that was the kind of role that a Meryl Streep got, you know, she'd get another nomination. You're right, because she would actually win the award. But anyway, last word to you, Shawn.
I don't want you guys to call the psychiatric ward, but I will have to agree with one thing that Monique said, and I know that's not been in vogue lately. But at some point, though, when it comes to these awards, sometimes we just got to celebrate our own, like the AFCA Awards, like the Celebration of Black Cinema, like the NAACP Image Award. I know we shouldn't have to, but sometimes you do.
Well, that's it, you guys. Hey, this is the Real Critic Roundtable, where Black critics come to discuss, debate, and have fun. I don't know if we had any fun, but we definitely discussed and debated this week. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks for joining us.
Wait a minute, hold on. But next week's Christmas, so what are we gonna do?
So,
Shawn, like, I'm not coming next week.
see,
I mean, but next week's literally Christmas Day.
I'm gonna have to call y'all and see if we have a special session
We
to
got to
talk about
Wonder Woman.
to talk about
Sylvie's Love. We got to talk about Sylvie's Love.
I was just about to say, talk about Sylvie's Love, Wonder Woman. What else we didn't talk about? We didn't get to talk about
Night in Miami yet?
One
No,
Night in
that
Miami.
comes
One Night in Miami. So I'll try to see if Monday or Tuesday if we can get you guys back
Yeah,
on.
but we also should talk about there are some the film Passing. It looks really interesting for Sundance. You know what I mean? We'll talk a little bit about the Sundance.
Even our top 5 for the year.
I'll check y'all schedules. See, this is Film Critics in Action. I ain't even cutting this. This is Film Critics in Action. They like.
I mean, I'm all for getting on a Zoom on Christmas Day, but it's gonna be.
Yeah, right. Your family's gonna be like, sir.
Yeah, exactly.
I wasn't doing Christmas Day anyway, so I'll give you guys a call for a special session. Hey, this is the Real Critic Roundtable. We'll see you guys next time for our special session to talk about some other movies. Talk to you guys later.